directed by Steve Mcqueen and based upon a novel by Gillian Flynn. This film is also based upon a TV show of the same name, written and directed by Linda LaPlante in the late 80s, and it stars Viola Davis, Liam Neeson, Michelle Rodriguez, Colin Farrell, Daniel Kaluuya, and Robert Duvall. Widows tells the story of three women who lose their husbands in a police shootout after a failed botched robbery. And one of the widows, Veronica, played by Viola Davis, discovers that the money that her husband stole was from a major crime lord in Chicago, and he gives her 1 month to return the $2 million that she owes to him. And then Veronica, going through her husband's personal effects, later discovers that her husband was planning one last job. And she recruits two of the widows to assist her in the robbery of $5 million, returning the $2 million to the Chicago crime lord, and then taking the other $3 million for themselves to live a quiet life. On the surface, when I went to go see this film, I thought, okay, this is going to be something in the vein of Ocean's 8. But I was wrong, and I was pleasantly surprised. This film is a beautifully crafted thriller, and it has to be one of the most gripping thrillers that I've seen this year. Credit to Steve Mcqueen, who's proven himself to be one of the most talented directors around. And this film easily is beautifully shot, beautifully acted. Where do we start? Credit where credit is due. Acting. I can't think of one weak element in this film, acting-wise. Everybody is on point. Viola Davis gives a strong performance as Veronica, the widow. And she's the leader of this gang, and she demonstrates strength and resilience in the face of extreme adversity. And also Michelle Rodriguez. And for me, it was a pleasant surprise to see her in the film outside of the Fast and Furious franchise. And when she is in a film, she can act. Colin Farrell as the politician, he lent strong support, and the racist father, played by Robert Duvall, as always a career veteran, he lent excellent support to this film. And this film, whilst it might be billed as a heist film, I mean, there is a heist in the film, that is near to the further end of the film. This is more about character. This is more about social commentary. And there are a lot of things in this film that this film touches upon. Police brutality and poverty, and the disparities between black and white in the city of Chicago. One of the best shots in this film, and it was weird the way that they shot it, but after looking back on it, I can understand why they did it, was a particular scene in the film where Colin Farrell and his wife, they're speaking to a group of black people in Chicago who have set up their own businesses. And this is in a deprived, rundown area of Chicago, okay? And they get into their car and they start having a discussion. And the camera is focused on the front of the car. You can't see them talking, but you can see the scenery. And what they do cleverly is that they see the car drive, and they're going through the urban area, and they're showing decayed buildings, and then less than 40 seconds later, they're in a more affluent area, which is the white area of Chicago. And it shows what is going on in Chicago. And this was written by Gillian Flynn, who did Gone Girl, and this film is up there with Gone Girl in terms of beautifully crafted, beautifully well drawn out characters, and the way that these characters interact with one another. Great dialogue, and it is a very difficult thing to adapt a book into a film successfully, but it was done here. And the pacing of this film is 2 hours and 15 minutes. Now, some people said that there were too many subplots and that the film overran. Because this film, I'll equate it to Heat, which was another beautifully drawn out thriller. And again, based on characters. And what the two similarities between these two films were, that you see characters in the opening sequence of the film, or in the middle of the film, and we just leave them there. And then you ask yourself, okay, well, why was that character brought into the sequence? And then later on in the film, you see the part that they played and how pivotal they were. So it is a piece of a puzzle that keeps you gripped. So if you look at Heat, if you look at Dennis Haysbert, he was in the film and he was introduced about 30 minutes into the film working in a cafeteria. He just come out of prison, if you recall, and he's working in a cafeteria. And then you wonder, okay, what's Dennis Haysbert doing in this character? What is he doing in this film? Then, later on, after one of Robert De Niro's wheelman has been infiltrated by the police and he realizes that he needs a driver for the robbery that he's going to pull off, he sees Dennis Haysbert's character and he realizes, hey, we did time together and he's reliable. And he knows how to do the job, and he hires him. And then you think, okay, that's why he needed him. That's why he is there. And this is the same with Widows. You've got characters that are brought in at certain moments. You don't know why. You realise, okay, why did you put them there? But then after a few moments, you understand why. And credit to Steve Mcqueen, who's turning into easily one of the most respected directors around. And again, strong support. Daniel Kaluuya is on mesmerising form as one of the henchmen in this film. And it's good to see what this young man is doing, and I hope to see more of what he has to do in the future. But on the whole, a good gripped thriller, which is beautifully shot. The scenery is wonderful. And the cherry on top, after a mesmerising finale and the final credit sequence, the credits roll, and then you hear the unmistakable voice of Sade, who lends her voice to the soundtrack in this film. And again, I've seen a lot of films this year. The last 4 films that I reviewed have turned out to be really, really good. And again, I hope that the quality of films that are coming out continues. In a year that we've just had sequels and comic book films, there's some quality films that are coming out here, and I hope to see more. So, with that being said, I will give Widows 9.5 out of 10. Easily one of my favourite films of the year. And again, when I compile my list, this is definitely going to be in that category. One to watch, one for the DVD collection without question. So, that's my review of Widows. If you like what you see, subscribe to this channel. Leave your comments with what is your favourite heist film, and I shall see you on the next film review. Take care.